Hey everyone, this is David with the Maegical Stories of Healing and Spiritual Gifts podcast. I am here with my amazing wife, Miss Megan.
Hi everyone.
And we are very excited today to bring you a very interesting couple, Amanda Leclaire and Chris Brummel. Are y'all both here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited to talk to you. So I know we ran into you guys on the Facebook page, and we've had a lot of pretty awesome feedback and people reaching out since the group's blown up. But y'all's story stood out to me so much, stood out to both of us so much, where basically you, Chris, literally brought your wife back to life. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Your healing hands. So before we get into all that, there's so many questions, and Megan and I have there. We're so excited to dig in and talk about that because there's just this shift and movement of healing, of true divine natural healing. And we're so excited to talk to you guys about this. Just to start out, we'd love to get to know you a little bit. Tell us, Amber, Chris, tell us about y'all's backgrounds. How'd you grow up?
Yeah, were you raised in a church? Anything of that nature?
I maybe went to church between 10 to 20 times, so not really. My parents were working class people, nothing too out of the ordinary.
I went to church with my mom until I was about 13 or so.
Okay, gotcha. And it was never like a heavy influence on your life or anything growing up?
Not really.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, were you asking me or Amber?
Oh, but we could go Amber first, then you.
Oh, okay. I didn't know who you were asking right there. Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
A quick thing. I'm a little sick, so if I have to step out of the room for a minute, know that I'm not being rude. I'll just say, hey, I'll be right back or something like that. Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. I was actually trying to schedule this for the worst possible time for you, so hopefully.
Well, it worked out.
No, you're fine.
No worries at all. Hey, anytime, man. So when were you guys first exposed to the spiritual world? I know I grew up super conservative and knew absolutely nothing about it. Megan, you grew up.
Yeah. I was definitely raised in church. I got $100 for every Bible verse I would memorize. So I was like a Bible verse memorable growing up. So yeah, I was definitely heavily, in that realm of things.
So, transitioning that to the spiritual world is always interesting. So what is it that got you, both of you, interested in the spiritual world, and how did that go?
Well, when I was 10, my grandpa Becker passed away, and we were really close, and I had a really hard time with that. And I loved watching Oprah, and I was watching Oprah one day, and she had James Van Praagh on there, and he was talking about, the other side, and I really liked what he said. So my mom got me a couple of books of his, and in those books he talked about obviously the other side and life after death and the chakras, and and I had the internet when I was about 12, and I would look up that kind of stuff because it's all thanks to James Van Praagh that I heard about chakras and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so, that's amazing.
Yeah, so that really opened up my eyes. I was looking into meditation and astral projection and all that kind of stuff when I was, not even a teenager yet. So
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
For me, as I said, I did go to church and everything with my mom, but when you're that age, sometimes it just feels like it's a chore, it wasn't exactly.
100%.
Yeah. Whenever you're 6, 7, 8, 9, it's like, oh God, every Sunday I get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and so that's how it felt. So that was that. What was quite different is whenever I was about 10, my grandma had stage 3 lung cancer, and we were at the hospital telling her goodbye. It was it. And I suddenly had the urge to pray, and I just walked over and I put my hands on her arm, and I felt a very warm, comfortable feeling, and I felt like the power of God. I spoke in tongues, and after a few minutes, she started breathing.
You spoke in tongues, is that what you said?
I'm sorry?
Did you say you spoke in tongues?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. My grandmother did that. Wow. Okay. Continue.
Yeah. Conduit. That's always the best way I could describe it. If we're all God in some way, if we all have God's energy, then we use the conduit of God's energy. That's what it feels like to me. It always has. And I prayed for her, and she started breathing better, and she looked a little better. She got a little better color. 3 weeks later, she left the hospital. She was fine.
Wow. That's amazing. That is amazing.
And she lived another 3-4 years.
Wow. That is incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, I believe in all of this. I was raised with my grandmother, like I said, just mentioned, who spoke in tongues, and she's amazing. And I've just always wanted to be like her. She's amazing. So I know how real that world is. And then I, started getting my certification in Reiki, and I noticed that whenever I would do Reiki, that I would just get unbelievably hot. And so
I've had that feeling.
Yeah, so I'm so intrigued by your story. Continue.
So
that was the end of that story. She lived for a few more years.
Man, how the heck did your family react? I mean,
they just kind of looked at me like, "What are you doing?" Yeah, I mean, it was almost like, "What the hell is he doing?" I remember them all kind of looking at me. It's like 10-year-old speaking in tongues, and there's, I don't know, 8 dozen people sitting around my grandma's bed, and like me doing that, and like she got a little better, and it was definitely kind of freaky. And then on the way home, I was in the car with my mom and my dad. My dad was just kind of like he was raised Catholic. I honestly don't know if he actually believes in God or not. I think that he does, but he's had a lot of bad experiences with Catholicism whenever he was a kid. But my mom was definitely raised Christian, as a Protestant, and she was just kind of like, "So what made you decide to do that?" And I just told her that I didn't really know. It just kind of came to me. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, he said he just wanted to help her.
Yeah, that was it.
Wow,
what a beautiful gift you have.
Yeah, and there's so many cool things.
Times.
Yeah, there's so many cool things about this, because what we're trying to do, just with the overall Maegical movement, is bring light to the reality of these things. Like, there's healing powers out there. Some people may have be maybe gifted at different areas than others, but it wasn't just like you did this to your grandma and y'all were alone. There were so many people around. They all saw it, and she legitimately lived more years, and she had a sickness. You cannot refute those things.
Yeah.
It's like, how does that not completely change your whole world perspective? Something like that,
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, obviously.
Oh my God.
Right.
Oh yeah, it absolutely did.
I mean, Dave, why can't you have this gift?
I know, right?
Even as a kid, it definitely made me go like, okay, like what was that? I didn't fully understand it, and I'm almost 38, so there was no internet whenever I was 10, so I didn't know how to research this sort of thing, and I just kind of let it go. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know what the hell it was. My mom didn't know. My dad didn't know. Nobody else in my family knew what it was. They're like, you spoke in tongues and you saved grandma. Good job. Like, that was kind of it.
Wow. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
So I'm kind of shifting gears just a little bit. Tell me about y'all's experiences with psychedelics? Like, when did you get exposed to them? Or have you just been negative experiences, positive experiences? Amber, then Chris.
So, after I graduated high school, that whole summer, I did so many psychedelics. We used to have this thing here in Missouri called Schwagstock in central Missouri.
Nice.
And it was just a big Grateful Dead cover band thing, and just all the psychedelics you could find, so they did it once a month, and I went there probably, I went there probably 3 times one year, and then 3 times the next year. It happened quite a lot for me, and I'm really grateful that I did that, because it really does open up your mind,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was instrumental in my personal healing journey. So I totally get you there.
And when you say psychedelics, are you implying LSD, shrooms?
Yeah,
Yeah.
LSD, shrooms. I think I did mescaline. All kinds of different stuff. I've even done like salvia.
I've heard that's a rough one.
It is really strange. I did like a red salvia or something like that, which is like the strongest one, and it was very weird but it's really short, you know.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's
not like strapping in for the 6 to 8 hour ride that LSD or mushrooms can be.
Right. It's like you don't even know where you're at.
Right. And I love that you mentioned that too, the fact that it opens your mind, because and a big part of what we've learned in our experience, and one of the things that we're trying to help people kind of have an open mind to, is the healing and potential therapeutic benefits of psychedelics. There's this, again, it's shifting, which I love that, but there's this stigma around psychedelics where they get looped in with drugs like heroin and cocaine, which is absolutely insane. But it causes a lot of divide out there, where there's just so many potential benefits when done responsibly and with an intention of healing or intention.
And moderation, dosage is everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that you mentioned that and the opening mind aspect. What about yourself, Chris?
Well, I did it. Excuse me. I did shrooms a few times whenever I was in high school with friends and things like that. I did acid once, like right after high school. I didn't like it. I thought the shrooms were just a much more natural thing for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like LSD. Like, it made me feel so freaking weird.
Yeah.
Like, I
okay.
couldn't do anything to make it stop, and I know I'm tripping. I'm like, this is gonna be forever, and like, there's no way you can sleep or anything like that. Like, I think I might have even had a reaction so bad that I threw up. I don't remember, but I just know it didn't go well.
I threw up on acid once, and it was pretty great.
It was not great for me.
This is the best throw up ever.
Yeah. My puke is so colorful. Look at that.
Right? That's awesome. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's interesting how different it's per person. I've heard things that have incredibly eye-opening, beautiful experiences on LSD and some on mushrooms. It all really depends on what's unique to the person. So, in regards to addiction, because that's a big thing we're trying to open people's eyes up to and really kind of shift the conversation on, because I personally feel like it's just gone about so wrong in society. I know with my addiction issues, nothing in society worked, and psychedelics were kind of a key piece. It wasn't what helped it, but it was a key piece in it. Have either of you had addiction issues?
Oh, definitely. I've been addicted since I was 17. I mean, like, I've struggled with it for a very long time. And so has Chris.
Yeah, I was on coke for a while when I was 18, 19, and then definitely alcohol was probably my biggest one for a long time. And I mean, I guess you could say cigarettes and things like that, but I mean, as far as like narcotics are concerned, it'd be those two.
Yeah, I've done it all.
Yeah. I hear you there. Mine was definitely alcohol, and it's tough. It really is. But I love, what I do want to say is I really appreciate you guys coming here and openly talking about it, because one of the biggest issues is this fear of judgment, which holds people back from taking the first step to healing, where people like that have healed being able to vulnerably talk about, hey, yeah, I dealt with this, and not have to worry about any ridiculous aspect of shame or judgment, because it's a true story. And there is no shame or judgment, because everyone's dealing with something, whether it's public or private. So bringing y'all's stories and both of you just openly talking about it is freaking awesome, because there's someone out there that's just going to hear it and it's going to touch them. And they'll be like, you know what? I want to talk about this too. And that's the first step to actually healing, is creating a space that's like safe for people to talk about these things.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so on that note,
no, but I think it's great to talk about it, because I feel for me, with all the things that I kept secret, quiet for so long, I definitely feel like that can affect you physically. And talk about, you mentioned chakra, not allow your throat chakra to be balanced and, spin the way that it needs to. And so it's awesome that you're doing. Yeah, I mean, it's awesome that you're doing this, because this is only going to help you guys even heal even further, and so it's just a beautiful thing.
Definitely.
Yeah, Amber's been telling her story a little bit longer than I have. I've just gotten comfortable within the last year or so, really, completely telling mine. And I know that telling the stories that I have, it's healing me as much as it can heal another person.
Yes,
Someone
absolutely.
saying, hey, David. Hey, Amber. Hey, Bob down the street. This is a problem that I've had. Can I talk to you about it? And before you know it, the Bob down the street is telling you, well, you know what? I've had similar problems. And that's in its own way. It's beautiful.
It's like so many people. It's like we all think that we're so different from each other, but it's like when you open up and the other person opens up too, you just realize how similar people really are. Is we're all dealing with pain and struggling and just trying to get through the day, pretty much. You know, I mean, nobody wants to grow up to be an addict. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
When I'm 11, I want my first bump of coke when I turn 17.
Right. Right. People don't use because they use to escape. You know, and it's
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And later on, I definitely had some sexual addiction issues too. And again, I picked those up a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, addiction is an MF'er. Like, it'll make everything will be addictive for you.
Yeah, it's like anything can be addictive. You know, TV,
Red Bull,
technology.
Yeah. Well, and it's
caffeine.
Yeah,
it's addicted. It's being addicted to like anything that will make you feel good. Really, anything that's just instant gratification. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. We both just quit smoking.
What's that?
We both just quit smoking.
Good congratulations! Job. That's pretty awesome.
So,
nice. Job. So that kind of ties to my next question. What was it that helped you guys overcome your addictions?
For me, it was I just realized that my life had just become so dark and so unmanageable, and I was just in so much pain, and it's like I either wanted to die or get better, you know, like I had to do something. I had to do something. And I started going through and asking myself, well, why do I use? Why am I doing this to myself? Why do I do this to other people? You know, and it's just like you got to really look at yourself. And
I had to step out of the room to get my 5-year-old away from the door. Could you tell me what the question is again?
Yeah, no worries. I was asking how you guys overcame your addictions. Amber, that was such a real answer you had. You have to take a really deep look at yourself. You know, one thing I've known, I mean, I was there deep in binge drinking. Binge drinking was my thing. I had a horrible alcohol addiction, and alcohol would lead to all kinds of other horrible substances when I lived in New York, but the epitome of it was really alcohol was my big issue. And addict, what happened is, you know, you don't want to you want to escape. You know, you're absolutely right. You don't want to face yourself. You don't want to look at yourself and look at all the damage that you're causing. You want to just stay in the state of feeling this high euphoria and putting all your issues and everything and not facing it. So one of the things that was key for you was just facing it and then taking the steps to overcome it.
Right, because it's almost like that darkness, it gains momentum, you know, and like whenever I was getting sober or whenever I wanted to get sober and I wasn't already, like I had to get really honest, and I would tell Chris, like, hey, this is what inebriated pupils look like, you know. So like I was trying to take away I was trying to, you know, be honest, like educate, like, so I can't get around this, you know. So that's another thing that I did, just be, you know, like educate the people around me so that they're gonna.
That's awesome.
If I'm messing up.
No, for sure. I love that. Chris, what about yourself?
Oh, he had to excuse himself for a minute. Yeah. No
worries at all. And the last question I have on the addiction stuff, what do you think, just totally curious, because I know I have my strong opinions on it in regards to the way society goes about addiction. What changes do you think society could make that could make a positive impact on helping addiction issues?
You know, honestly, I feel like the whole war on drugs is a terrible idea. I feel like, you know, if we decriminalize some things, you know, I'm not saying like, hey, you know, free crack rocks for everybody. But like if we decriminalized it so that like, okay, well, these people are using because they're in pain and they need help. They need love, you know. If we could decriminalize it and just kind of like help people out instead of shunning them, instead of making them feel like they're awful people, because I've met some amazing addicts, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like if we looked at it in a different way and helped each other out, I feel like we could be a lot better with it, because addiction is everywhere.
Absolutely. There's man, I really wish I would have researched this before this call. But there's this, there's this group of people where, and I want to say it's a Native American tribe. What they do whenever someone has an addiction issue or something horrible happens, or they do something really bad, they actually put them in the center of the village, and everyone is around them in a circle, and everyone takes turns saying what's great about them.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. It's called Ubuntu, or something like that. Yeah. A lot of I really like what indigenous tribes do with their people that are suffering, because you're right. They'll take them, and you know, they'll try and lift them up instead of like, you know, right, pushing them away, putting them in jail. You know, I'm giving them fines. Hey, let's bring each other up. Let's make each other feel better. That's a beautiful thing.
Right. And, you know, at the core, so many up-to-date studies on addiction, at the core issue is actually lack of connection. Lack of genuine connection with others.
Oh, Johann Hari wrote a really good book called Chasing the Scream, and it's about addiction. In Lost Connections, he's a great writer. So I recommend his books, those two books, for anybody that's interested in depression or addiction. It's a great read.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Hey, no problem.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. Let's get to the healing story. This is what we were really, I mean, there's multiple reasons we want to talk to you, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so give us in a recap in as much detail as you can remember of what happened that day when you overdosed. And again, we both appreciate you, being really vulnerable here.
Hey, no problem. So it was early in the morning, and I was awake, and I was already pretty high, but you can always get a little bit higher. So I went to the bathroom.
What was it? Off of what?
Heroin.
Okay, got it.
Fentanyl. Okay. Pretty much. So I went to the bathroom, and I was, cutting out some lines, and I was falling asleep while I was doing it, I remember I was in a really bitter mood that day. I was, unhappy, sad, kind of angry, and I just wanted to just escape from it. So I locked myself in the bathroom, and my mom she took my son to school, so and she had the thought to come check on me because I was in the bathroom for a long time, which is really kind of strange for her because she kind of does her own thing. But that day it was, she's intuitive, I mean, plus it's a mother-daughter connection, you know what I'm saying? So she got the door open, and she noticed me like looking really bad, and she thought that I had a reaction to antibiotics. So she woke up Chris and my aunt, and she said, "Hey, I got to go to work and drop off the kid at school, so you might want to look at Amber because she doesn't look very good." And then Chris can fill you in on the rest.
Yeah, I sat there for a minute. I really just kind of figured that she was just nodding out, but like she was probably somewhat okay. I guess. He
never did heroin.
Yeah, I never used it once in my entire life. It was just never for me.
He wasn't okay with me doing heroin, but he knew, and he. So anyway.
Yeah. No, it's okay. So I walk in and to the bathroom, and I'm just kind of looking at her, and she's completely dressed, but sitting on the toilet. Her head is back, like she fell asleep on the toilet. So her head is back. Her arms are at her sides, hanging down, like kind of by her knees or thighs, and her skin is completely gray. All the natural color that a human being has was gone.
Oh,
There was no redness or anything like that. Her pupils were the size of pinholes. And she was just head to toe covered in sweat. It was as though she walked out of the shower.
Yeah.
wow. Oh my God.
And
I can imagine.
Or like, you go into Six Flags and they throw 50 gallons of water on you on one of the water rides. That's how wet she
Oh
was.
my God.
Just running off of her. And
Oh
her
my
body
God.
was fighting so hard to bring her back. So,
Wow.
of course, I did panic a little bit at first. And I was
Cool.
calling her name and I was shaking her. Sorry, I get a little emotional whenever I talk about this.
No, of course. Take the time you need. I mean, take the time you need.
That's traumatic.
It's so traumatic. And I just want to say for a second, you too have the opportunity to be one of the most beautiful testimonies as a couple.
Yeah.
You too, as low as that moment was, that means it could be such a high of how many people you can reach and truly help, because you went through that traumatic of a moment and those times. So never, I know you guys probably already don't, but I just want to say, never, ever be ashamed. I mean, I know it must be such a scary time, but that was for a reason. You guys have such a beautiful opportunity for a testimony to help so many. I just personally hope you document it. I hope you freaking write it out, strap it out, tell people. I hope you just run the world with the story, because that is your story can save lives.
I tell everybody who's willing to listen. Like
I've told many people too.
I mean, it's at the point where like I don't have any shame about it, because
You
I'm
shouldn't.
Here,
Exactly.
I'm here by
she's
by
alive.
miracle.
So I'm looking at her completely covered in sweat. Skin is gray, pupils pinhole size, and I start kind of shaking her around a little bit harder. And I called 911, and I'm telling her, hey, honey, it's okay. The 911 is coming. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And I just remember saying that a lot, I think. And, holding her and loving on her and just trying to get her to come around. And I kept checking for a pulse, and the pulse, from what I could tell, was gone. Like it had finally stopped. I noticed a faint pulse whenever I first went in there. It wasn't much, but I could tell. I could kind of find it, and it got worse. And I finally just felt this very warm.
Well, you got off the phone first.
Well, yeah, I got off the phone with 911.
Yeah.
And I felt this. All of a sudden, I felt this very warm, calm, and comfortable feeling.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it was the power of God. I had no doubt in my mind whatsoever. And I took my fingers and I just my index finger and my middle finger, and I just gently rubbed them over where I was taking her pulse on her left wrist on the inside. And I was just gently rubbing over them. And I just kept telling her it's going to be okay. And all of a sudden, here she comes. She just freaking came back.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He prayed to God in a.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't speak in tongues, but I was praying. I was going, dear God, please help her, please help her, please God, please, 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 please. I mean, over and over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kept saying, God, it cannot be time for her to go and stuff like that. I don't remember verbatim because I'm sure you can imagine it was a bit of a stressful situation. Yeah. But I know I was praying to God, saying, please help.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. I just.
Amber. No, go ahead.
I just woke up 0 to 60, and he said an ambulance is on the way, and I'm like, for what? For what? Well,
wow.
You overdosed. Yeah, I was ready to go.
So it wasn't like, because you hear like oftentimes when people have those near-death experiences and they stop, their pulse stops, that they have moments where they're like on the outside, like looking down at their body and at the scene. Was that not your experience at all?
I do have like a memory like of seeing myself from above and seeing Chris and my aunt who were also in the room. Like I know that my consciousness left my body because I just remember seeing my dead face from above. You know what I'm saying? I went.
Yeah.
I obviously went to jail that day, and like I thought about it, and just like the image of me dead on a toilet. I mean, like, I had nightmares about it for I think that week a couple of times, and it just, that image is still seared into my brain, like, of me looking down at myself. I didn't see any white lights or anything like that. I didn't see any.
That was my next question.
Yeah, I didn't see any of that, but I do remember looking down at the room that I was in myself, and I knew without a doubt that I had died momentarily. Like, I just felt it in my soul that I narrowly escaped death.
Wow.
And I'm totally here by miracle. Just.
Girl, that means you have an amazing purpose. So if you don't know what that is yet, you got to get to working on figuring that out.
Oh, that's what I'm doing right now. There
you go.
I know, like, spreading the message about, the power of God, and like this whole thing that's what I like to do, to understand it. But anyway.
Oh yeah, that was an incredible story. Chris, did you experience and feel that there was something divine like around you, or angelic around you, like helping you?
Not so much around me, but I felt the power inside of my body.
Yeah,
without a doubt. I mean, imagine you drink 3 gallons of coffee in 5 minutes. Like, it was boom for that short time frame. I mean, I was up. Like, I felt that energy. But as I said, I was exceptionally calm, and I knew exactly what to do. It's like I had done it 50 times before. I just stopped, concentrated, focused, touched your wrist, and there you go. It was amazing.
Oh my God. And what do you do for a living? Because I feel like you need to be a healer.
I am a pharmacy technician, so I am in the medical field, but I am not a healer.
Well, not like you are a healer, but
but not by trade.
Right.
Right. I feel like you need to be doing Reiki or something. That's amazing.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it like crazy.
I don't like.
You have been thinking about
it.
Well, I practiced it a couple of times in like light manners. Like, I don't know, a couple of months ago, I ever had a headache. I'm like, hey, come here, and like I sat down, I just gently like just rubbed the side of her head, and it was really sweet. She remember her smiling. She's like, it's getting better. And I said, really? And she's like, yeah. And like her headache, when she said if it was a 10 out of 10, it went to like a 2 out of 10. I'm like, wait, look at that. So like, there's been little ways I've practiced it, but I guess it's my ego. I don't know why, but I haven't done more of that, but I want to.
Definitely like
you need to step into that.
Well, if you're waiting for a sign, here's your sign.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying that, like, that you're right. That is the sign. You're absolutely right. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Like, I'm here, and like, not that I shouldn't be, but like, it's amazing that I'm here. Like, this is a great gift that you have.
Yeah, I know.
So,
she's been clean and sober for quite a while, and I had alcohol issues a couple of years ago. Kind of come back up. Those went away. Neither of us are active addicts anymore. You're always an addict, right? But we're not consistently using by any means, or using at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what I would say too is, when you start to go down the purpose route of healing, which I firmly believe that is in your purpose, when you start doing that, you significantly heal. And all, like what happened with me with my addiction stuff, once I got over it, because it's a process. I definitely relapsed a few times before figuring out exactly what it is that healed me. Once I got on my purpose path of like developing, empowering people in that healing aspect now with Megan, it's crazy how much it shoves any aspect of the addiction away. So I would definitely advise you to, hey, check it out, man. Go check out Reiki, go check out these healing arts, because that could just really be your next big step, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
So that brings me to a pretty interesting theory I would like your opinion on. So, Megan's been diving and studying Reiki. She has her level 1 certification. She's going that route, studying the heck out of it. It's been a really cool experience already. And Reiki, as we know, it's all about the healing of the energetic body with life force energy, much similarly to what you're saying you experienced, right? Like that God energy.
Right.
Well, it's probably a little controversial because there's a ton of different religions out there, but one of the interesting theories that has really intrigued me is in the Bible, Jesus goes around healing people with his hands. And some say that Jesus was actually using Reiki, which, is controversial, but because many people have kind of a closed mind on that stuff. But what is your opinion or thoughts on that?
I think that is a brilliant theory.
Yeah, I couldn't agree
I
more.
do too.
I mean, like, I think that's a beautiful theory. I mean, one of the things I think that people get hung up on is that Jesus was much different than other people. But, I think his whole message got kind of misconstrued, I think that he just wanted other people to know, like, hey, this isn't something that only I can do, like this. I'm just
we all have spiritual gifts.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right.
He was a psychic and a healer. And I think that everybody has the capabilities to do really amazing things like that. If it's all about the power of belief, and
Yes.
I totally love that theory.
Yes, I love that you said he's a psychic and a healer. Like, that's so cool, because that's, one of the things that we're trying to do also is kind of a mission, is help break people out of this heavy conditioning that keeps their mind closed, because a phrase like that may be triggering to someone that was just conditioned in one specific way their whole lives, where, people see red.
That was a psychic changed my life, which sounds crazy, but it's the honest to God truth,
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah.
And like, Jesus literally did things a psychic does. He literally healed people with his hands, which is what Reiki is.
Right.
So, that's
really
awesome.
is a beautiful theory. I really like
Yeah.
it.
I mean, I've had tons of psychic experiences myself, like after that whole overdose thing happened, and then I had a mystical experience myself in April of this past year, and like, intuition is a real thing, we all have it.
Yeah.
It's just how much you take your time to understand it and how much you focus on it, and it's an amazing, beautiful gift to own, and I do think it has the capability to change lives.
Oh, yeah. And I'm glad that you even brought that up, because that's something that I wanted to ask you. It totally slipped my mind. But I often also hear when people have these near-death experiences, when they, like I mentioned earlier, pass, but then come back, that they awaken a lot of their spiritual gifts, and intuition, being a big one.
Yeah. After that all happened, like, it kind of freaked me out for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, yeah.
I mean, I had a friend, a really close friend. He overdosed about 6 months before I did, or something like that. And I was just like, well, why did I stay alive and not him? So I really started looking at my life, and I had all these moments of like insight. Why am I so anxious around people? And that I have this insight. It's like, well, people don't mean what they say, and they don't say what they mean, it's so communication has to be clear and direct, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, just these moments of like really good information just pop into my head, and over time, like, I just, it really changed my life. I definitely think that it awakened something in me that was dormant or repressed or something,
I hear that all the time, so I totally believe that for sure.
I mean, it was a terrible day, but it was one of the most important days of my life, like, I'm so grateful that I died for a minute. I wouldn't suggest it to anybody, but man, like, it really it changed my perspective.
Your rebirth, without a doubt.
Right. What is reality? How is that possible? Definitely turned my world upside down.
Yeah. And it's been proven time and time again, no matter what your beliefs are, that in the Bible, I mean, God uses the most broken people. He uses the people that have the most damage, the most, stuff they went through.
I was abused as a kid, not by my parent, a member of the extended family, and after high school, I accidentally burned down my house, and then a month after that, my dad left us So it's just me and my mom, and then she lost her sanity. I watched her go crazy. And I here I am 17 with my mom is hearing stuff, she's hearing voices, she's ripping the smoke detectors out of the ceiling. It was a really rough time, and that's part of the reasons why I started using, it's
you were escaping all of that pain and anxiety.
Right. I mean, like my whole life was messed up, and I didn't know how to cope. So yeah, I definitely believe that.
Well, it's so crazy how they say, that weed is like the gateway drug. I'm like, are you serious? Like, it's trauma. I mean,
yes, trauma is.
It absolutely is. That's my experience, and that's anyone else that I know. Well, yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to me. But like, I feel like most people that have been through traumatic, especially as a child, they are going to try to escape in some way, shape, or form, whether it's something like intense like what you did, or whether it's something even mild like marijuana, but it's interesting how the most of the people that are users are trauma survivors.
And it's such on a subconscious level. Well, awesome, man. You guys are awesome. We have loved talking to you. This has been so cool. At the end of each episode, I just like to ask one kind of final question for each of you. If there is one message you could leave with the world, what would it be?
Open your mind to the possibilities. They're endless. They're infinite.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that. Now you two need to go open your own practice.
That's right. It's a tough one to follow up, Chris.
I'm sorry?
So that's a tough one to follow up.
Oh, okay. For me, it's just practice love. No matter what, just unconditional love for everybody. Whenever you see somebody that maybe you don't like, something you don't care for, it's because it's something you don't see within yourself. And if you can't completely love yourself, you're not going to love anyone.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. His unconditional love was instrumental in me getting better. I couldn't have done it without him.
Well, you guys are very blessed to have one another, no doubt about that.
There's definitely very, very special bond.
In different ways, Amber has completely returned the favor. I don't know what you would want to call it. I don't think you can have a favor like bringing someone back to life, but like I'm not getting her a glass of water. It's a little bit more than that. But she is the person who has taught me to truly open up and to tell my own stories and things like that. I too had traumatic things happen to me when I was a kid. I was molested. My mom used to smack me around. It wasn't a great childhood. My dad was my dad was here. He's always been here. And, my mom's been dead for a few years now. And I mean, she was not an overly abusive person. I don't mean to give the wrong impression. But she was a big fan of like smacking me in the side of the head and that sort of thing. And that caused lots and lots and lots and lots of pain. And I told Amber some of these things, little bitty things here and there. Like she knew I was molested. But I had never really given the gory detailed story.
Yeah.
Once I did, this was literally almost exactly a year ago. It's probably like February of this year. And once I did, I will never forget it. We were outside on our patio and I was bawling like a baby, telling her the story. But once it was over, I just felt this weight coming off of my soul.
The secrets you keep you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, ain't that the truth? I mean, I can totally relate to that. I had a lot of trauma. I don't know if you listened to my podcast or not, but I had a lot of trauma starting as a young child. I was molested. I was physically abused, like all sorts of things. And man, it's just so crazy how you go to that escape. You go to that escape. And for me, it also caused me to have a lot of intimacy issues, unfortunately, that I'm still trying to master and conquer. But my point was, it was going to ayahuasca. It was a crazy experience. I went into it so broken up and so sick physically, mentally, in all ways, and they came out of it such a different person.
Yeah.
You know, and ayahuasca is not for everyone, you know, not at all. I would never push it on someone. It's not a fun process, you know. It's not as intense as dying, Amber, but it's definitely not fun. But the outcome was, in my experience, worth it, you know. And I don't know if that's something that maybe is calling to you guys. Maybe it's not.
I would love to.
Well, if it's calling to you, then, you know, I do absolutely feel that you would find a lot of healing, but it would be a tough process, you know. But the way that I look at it is it's like 6 hours of my life. You know what I mean? I can push through anything for 6 hours.
Right. I like a good challenge. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there you go, girl.
If you get those gains, you know.
There you go.
Well, man,
I have epilepsy, so I probably wouldn't use anything stronger than mushrooms at this point. And that's something I want to.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't recommend that for you at all. But mushroom therapy is amazing.
Huh?
Mushroom therapy is amazing. You know, I know a lot of people that microdose.
I haven't done them for more than 10 years. I only did them a few times whenever I was in early teens into my early 20s, I think is the last time I did it.
Yeah, I've never used it medicinally. I've always used it recreationally, but I'm very interested in pursuing something medicinally, you know, like, because I've heard amazing things about it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits to microdosing with mushrooms. So, I mean, that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah. I was going to say, we're running a little short on time. You guys have been incredible. I think we're definitely probably going to have to do another podcast with you guys sometime in the future, in the short-term future, because there's so much more we could have talked about that you guys just opened up with at the end there.
Yeah.
But
you guys are great.
It's so cool to talk to you. Thank you both for your vulnerability, opening up, talking about everything you did. And you guys, I'm so excited. Let's stay in touch, because you guys have such an incredible story in you already, and you guys definitely have an incredible purpose. So thanks for talking with us, and awesome messages to leave the world with. And happy healing.
Happy healing. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. It's been an honor to be on here with you guys.
We were looking forward to this, like, to no avail. Yeah. You know, like, we were so happy about this. You know, to be honest, my flu was really bad. This is the best 47 minutes of my life, or the last 2 days. At least in the last, few days or so, I managed to find the energy to come do this, and I am very happy.
Oh, well, we're so happy to have you. We will definitely be in touch, man. Thank you both so much. Y'all have a great night.
All right, good night.
Thank you. Y'all take it easy.
Bye.
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 The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.